Oh, welcome everybody. Welcome to Shop Talk, everyone. How is it going? Allana, what's up?
It's great. I'm great.
Friends,
Everything's great.
everything's great. We had minor technical difficulties before we got going, but that's why we met early because we got it sorted
Exactly.
out. And everyone looks great. We sound great. I appreciate very much our similar backgrounds of like colorful, chaotic. I feel like this is a perfect background off, like a dance off. We call it
Yeah.
background off, right? for the
Yeah.
for the neurodiverse entrepreneur that needs all this color.
All the crafting.
Right? I love it. Mine is just like books on books on books. I just updated my about page because I wanted to play around with my values a little bit and I updated them. I feel like they're a little preachy. Y'all will have to let me know if you go to my about page. But one of them is like refuse to give your life to tech billionaires. And like
Yep.
I talk about how I believe one of some of our biggest regrets on our deathbeds, not to be morbid, are going to be how much life we gave away to apps and we didn't spend it living. Anyways, it's been on my mind. What do you have for values on your website, like your personal values?
We talk about honesty and integrity in the workplace. We talk about inclusivity, but not just like we talk about the equity of inclusivity. So meeting
Mhm.
folks where they need to be met, as opposed to what's easy or what's standard. Um, I in my bio, people will see a line in there about my values around housing and
Yes.
dignified housing and living. So that's not the work we do. That's sort of what I do outside of my work. But I spend a lot of time outside of my work doing what I can to increase quality of life and dignified living for everyone.
Yeah. It's so often, and friends, give us some updates in the chat. Tell us, like, do you have your values on your website? Are there values that are unrelated to your business, as in it's not what you do, but it's what you stand for? That's something I talked about because I added another one around embracing diversity and what did I say? Embracing diversity and welcoming conflict, or I think making space for conflict. Another thing where, you know, if we're going to say that we are welcoming diversity and inclusion, we have to appreciate, right, that everyone has different opinions and lived experiences and values and come from different cultural, upbringings, whatever. And so we're going to approach things differently. We're going to see things differently. We're going to do things differently. And so I find that there is this push pull of like people championing diversity, yet not actually allowing for diversity. And so the minute that there's any level of tension or conflict, people shut down, walk away, blow up, cancel, right? And so like how are we making space for conflict as well and welcoming it because it helps us expand our empathy, right? Expand our compassion, sharpen our minds, strengthen our communication skills, right? Build better bonds because, of course, after conflict, it can be incredibly connecting and bonding because if we can get to the same side of things, right? And I very much take a nonviolent communication approach. How are we getting together on the same side against the conflict, against the issue? It really does strengthen relationships. Just allow for people to be different and have an open conversation around that. Alana, you're making lots of faces. What's coming up for you?
Yeah, so I have one of those what's in my brain is always on my face. I wish I had the ability to sometimes school my expressions.
No, we love it. It's like when I do one of
Well,
these.
yeah,
I've done that before. I'm like, whoa, whoa, wipe it off, wipe it off.
there's spaces where it would be convenient, a lot more convenient in my life if my face schooled itself ever. But unmasking is a joy and a lifelong experience. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Conflict is so challenging these days. I think there's things that we get to be in conflict about, and there are things that are currently in conflict that shouldn't be in conflict. Those are yes or no things, and they seem to be up for debate for. So I mean, I think it's a really common experience for neurodiverse folks to struggle with conflict because it pushes buttons inside of us that developed really young and haven't healed necessarily, or have healed but kind of are still a little scabby.
Yeah.
And so I understand why for a lot of neurodiverse folks, not everyone. I'm going to make a lot of like general statements, but
Yeah.
I don't mean everyone. A lot of neurodiverse folks, conflict is really uncomfortable and it comes from really deep seated, like it comes from deep,
Yeah.
deep
Rejection,
patterns.
exclusion,
Oh,
abandonment,
yeah.
right? And
Um,
oh,
But I also think as a community, especially if you've done your healing work or you're doing your healing work, if you've been doing your learning, I think we tend to also be sometimes frustratingly focused on accuracy and nuance in our arguments and discussions. And I assume there are a ton of people nodding as I say that. We tend to be hyper focused, really, really stuck on the precision of what we say or the nuance of what we say. So we can also be challenging to be in conflict with because we're so stuck in the precision of the statements and the language that we use, which sometimes gets in the way of the actual conversation.
100%. Friends, okay, I already see Jessica. And Jessica, yes, I knew it was you, but you know what? I couldn't remember if you went by Jess or Jessica. And so I was like, hey, WMP, because I was like, you know, when you're talking and then you're trying to think at the same time, but you want to stay focused on the conversation. So, Jessica, yes, I knew it was you. Couldn't remember if it was Jess or Jessica. Welcome. Friends, keep sharing your thoughts on that. I literally, Allana, just said that to someone last night. I talked about how I understand that my brain can get in a logic loop and it can be very frustrating because I'm clearly missing something. And if folks don't appreciate that neurodiverse mind, and especially autistic mind, but tell me if that also that we can get in this loop of logic and we miss the nuance or we miss the different perspective, right? We miss something. I am always missing things. And so I'll get frustrated because I'm like, why? Like, watch me watch a baseball game. Any Blue Jays fans here? Anyways, I'll be watching a game and I'll be like, why would they do that? That makes no sense. Da-da-da-da-da. You know, I'm freaking out about the Schneider and the manager and this and that. It's like, you're missing a strategy here, Liz. You're missing something. And so I think that is so important when we talk about communication and conflict, because we also, just really quickly, Len, and I'm going to unleash you here really quickly. There is also that, you know, we hear this all the time that oftentimes, especially in like the autistic people and allistic people, non-autistic, are having two very different conversations. And so conflict, it's like just perfect storm for conflict. And that is a part of, if you're going to say that you welcome diversity and inclusion, that includes communication diversity, neurotypicality diversity, and understanding that we are on the same side. We're just missing the mark in our communication. How do we get on the same page? It requires a lot of patience on both people's parts. Allana.
Yeah, it also includes a culture that fosters learning both languages.
Yeah.
So I think most people are familiar. If you have lived in North America for any length of time, you're probably familiar with the "Men are from Mars, Women are from Venus"
Oh, God.
title.
Yeah.
That's not where I'm going with this.
Yes.
But the concept that two people who both speak English are speaking two different versions of English on the same subject and completely missing each other. And, you know, if you get into online spaces, you'll hear neurodiverse folks and particularly autistic folks who are saying, I've spent my whole life being bullied or pressured to learn how to speak your English.
Yeah.
And I just would like you to even try and learn my English. And so having a workplace or any community where you're bringing in inclusion, you're focusing on diversity, that also mean that inclusion doesn't mean that the neurodiverse folks are the ones doing all the heavy lifting. That means that the whole team has to be learning the language, they have to be learning about tools, they have to be learning how to shift their mindset so that we're meeting people where they're at. And if we do that, we can get the best out of people.
Well, and I tell folks that all the time. Like so many times that they'll be telling me about someone they need to hire it to, for support in their business. I'm like, oh, you need an autistic person in that role. They will crush that role. But if you're going to do that, you have to allow them to be an autistic person, which means there's accommodations that you're going to probably need to make that you're not used to making, right? Or learning a new language you're not used to speaking. But before we keep going, Lana, I really want to give you a chance to tell people what the heck you do. So friends, excited that you're here. Allana, excited that you're here with me. I know we've got a guest on our shop talk, which is kind of rare, and I love it. Tell folks who you are and the work that you do.
So I'm a neurodiversity educator. And we do a couple things in my company. We go into the corporate space and we do the one-on-one work. So in the corporate space, we go in, companies hire us to come in and educate their whole workforce on what neurodiversity is. So we talk about all the conditions under the umbrella. We focus on the behavioral model, and then how those behaviors show up on your teammates. So what behavior are they exhibiting in the workplace that might be problematic or misunderstood, but what does it actually mean? And then how do we support and accommodate that work? How do we meet people where they're at so we get the very best out of them? And there's all sorts of work that has to be done to make that happen, but there's all sorts of really incredible things that come out of meeting your teams where they're at and meeting their needs so you get the best out of them in the workplace. And out of that work, it became really clear to us that there was this need for one-on-one work that wasn't attached to the workplace, that wasn't attached to their employer. And so I went out and I did the work, and I'm still doing the work to do the learning and build out the programs for us. And in that space, it's very similar, but it's one-on-one focus. So it's taking your diagnosis from a medical diagnosis and really focusing on the behaviors that are showing up in your life that are helping you or hurting you, getting in your way. And then how do we shift our thinking to this is a problem, this is a roadblock, into supporting and accommodating you. So that's tools and resources and systems. Sometimes they're internal systems, external systems. And then I also offer neurodiversity coaching in that process. And for the neurodiversity coaching, I coach mature teens, adults. Sometimes I coach the parents of neurodiverse kids and helping them understand better what's happening with their kiddo and how to get the desired result. And I think there's a lot of us late diagnosed folks who there's an opportunity to prevent some of the things that we went through that weren't intentionally harmful, but just we didn't know. Nobody knew. We didn't know. And so there's this, for me, I find it this beautiful opportunity to sort of stop it before it happens.
Yeah, you're totally pulling up some trauma I'm going to share. Okay, so I want to hear what you all have to say on this one as well. But you know, it's interesting to be late diagnosed and to really look back at your life. And for me, anyways, I'm so curious for anyone else watching. Have this deep yearning to be acknowledged and supported, not excluded, punished, and discarded. Right? At times where I needed help emotionally regulating, understanding the nuance, like managing meltdown and overstimulation, right? At those points where I can see it so clearly now, and instead it was met with punishment, exclusion, side eye, you know, it's so interesting to now be an adult well beyond my midlife now, you know what I mean? And to be in the stage and going, still that inner child just wants that so desperately. And it does factor in the types of people I work with and the types of friendships I build and the types of community spaces I join. Because the minute that, you know, there is this, I'll just say it, side eye, social side eye to me just existing as a person, I will see if someone's open to a conversation around that. And if there's not, I can feel myself just like shutting down, running for the door. And that's actually a tension within myself that I'm really working on right now. I have this, you guys, I'll show you my phone lock screen right now because I'm playing with this tension. And it says, you've got to play the game. And I think that is something that a lot of neurodiverse, especially autistic folks, can connect to, which is that the game doesn't make sense. the game feels ridiculous and redundant and stupid, but if we don't play it, right, there is that rejection, exclusion, side eye. And so I'm playing with this tension of the inner child wanting to be fully accepted, but existing in a world that isn't there yet. And so where do I still have to throw on that mask, even if I don't want to? But also, where am I building community where I can drop the mask myself? That was a mouthful, friends. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are in the comment. Even if you heard something that I said totally differently and it applies to you, tell me what came up for you just in listening to that. And Allana, what are your 2 cents? I freaking love your face. I love when we're on camera together because you hide nothing. And it's so wonderful. I'm like, oh, Allana's going to have something fire to say.
I love that your inner child is sort of the leading like voice for you right now. I feel like lately
I'm in my brat era, Allana. I am in my brat era. I'm sorry for interrupting you.
It's okay. I like she's in there. My inner child is in there, but right now I feel like my inner teenager is the one who's in charge. And I am very much in my like torch it era.
Burn it all down.
Yep. And that's not necessarily like my business or my life. It's more of a like external torch it. And that's not helpful or healthy for the systems that I exist inside of. So the joys of experiencing puberty twice on the back end, I feel like my teenager is all too often the loudest voice in my head. And I work on that because she doesn't have her driver's license yet, and
she can't be out here bulldozing the mailboxes in your life. Like,
I really need her to not be driving and making decisions because she's not making long-term. She is not the right person to be in charge, but she's the loudest voice right now. So
anyone else relate to that? Tell us in the comments. I feel like, Allana, that is we see that representative in so much of our leadership, whether it's political, corporate, whatever. Their inner teenager is driving the ship, steering the ship, driving the car, and mowing everyone down. And I just have to say to everybody that is working on that, on not letting the teenager run rampant and burn it all down, and understands that is related to trauma or whatever, and is doing the work and still working to show up as a compassionate, responsible, caring, empathetic adult. We need more of that. So kudos.
Doing the work.
Doing the work.
I was talking to somebody maybe a week or two ago, and we wandered into the subject of therapy, and she said to me, for all of us who are going to therapy, have you noticed after we get through like the big thing that brought us in the first place, almost all the appointments we're at after that are about the people who won't go do the work so that we can handle the people who won't go do, like all of us who are in therapy because for the people who won't go. And that has just sat with me for probably about 2 weeks now. Like everywhere I go, everyone I see, I'm like, oh, you're doing the work. Oh, you're the why.
So they say that we go to therapy because to undo the harm, or just to put up with the harm, or not put up with the harm, but navigate the harm caused by those that won't, right? Oh my gosh. I want to read some of the comments here, and then I want to get into a couple of questions, super duper questions that we've got lined up. So what is Jessica, you said, oh wait, sorry, wrong one. So I'd asked you about, is there anything within your values that are not directly related to your business, but still inform your business? And Jessica, you said, for me, it's the love of Jesus, because there are so many people, especially Christians, not sharing love. And I'm here loving everyone. My brand is about outdoor recreation and conservation. So you can see how it's like your values around loving everyone, how that shows up, right, in your business, in conservation, right? Like, like I think my number one value, not I think, I know it is like kindness and I can't think right now. But anyways, basically kindness and empathy, kindness and compassion. It's on there. I just updated them, so I have, they're like out of my brain, but I need to like get them even more embodied. But I believe it's kindness and compassion. And it's like everything, all the decisions I make, the interactions I have, the things that I do, it's like, okay, I because of what I had wrote was the world does not need more people to prove that they're right. We need more understanding, compassion, empathy. We need to be building a kinder world, not always have to be right. And, how does that show up in my business? That shows up in the way I interact with people, the way the conversations I have. If I see things differently, I don't go make a bunch of content telling someone that they're wrong. If I'm in a one-on-one session and I don't agree with the person, I'm not gonna be like, "You're wrong." It's like, "Okay, if that's what you want, let's figure it out," right? Alana, let's go back to really quickly again, another value that's maybe, like, not as obvious related to your business, but it's something that you hold in yourself.
It's certainly one, the empathy and the compassion piece. Those have been there for a long time. Those are kind of baked in for us. It is also one that is harder to reach into like these days.
Okay, you got that, like, empathy burnout?
Uh, yeah, it's really hard it's one that I definitely notice that like I give it very generously and I hold it very generously, but I'm in Alberta and I'm having a hard time digging into it
Yeah,
often enough.
it's well, it's hard, especially again when you're looking at your leadership, you're looking around at the people in your world and your community. A
In my
lot
community, amazing people, but when I look outside of my community, it's really hard to hold compassion and empathy for
others.
yeah.
Jess is
So
saying that she's a really hard time with conflict. Yeah, I think that's most people. One of the things that I also did on my about page, you guys, if you want to go have a look. I know I'm talking about it a lot. I don't know. You know me. I'm always trying to play with doing things a little differently. But I included books related to my values. Like if you want to get on the same page, here are some books, right? And one of the ones around embrace diversity and make space for conflict is what I've labeled it. Read the coddling of the American mind, and it talks about how we like not how but like why we are so uncomfortable with conflict and why we see conflict as a threat of violence, rather than just someone who has a different opinion. And we could talk about these things. It's a really important book. He's another book out, the same author, called Anxious Generation. Definitely recommend it. What's up, Thrivin? We're glad you're here too. So Jessica says, I don't know that I'm ADHD or neurodivergent, but I'm here to learn how I can engage properly. I have a hard time masking what I'm thinking though, too. LOL. And I think that there's a lot of things in like the frame of like masking that like everybody experiences, right? Like that's a thing when people say, oh, everyone's a little ADHD or everyone's a little autistic. Well, everybody shares similarities. We all do. It's more about the level of extremity. I was gonna say extremity, but that's an arm. Extremity? Is that a word, friends? The level of extremism?
Nis?
Extremeness? Anyways, it is the level of how big it is and how much it affects you, right? In a different way. But when we talk about this, I love what Jessica's saying. How, if I'm not neurodivergent, how do I show up and support folks that are? And I mean, that's your wheelhouse right there. So if you were to say to entrepreneurs, whether they have their own like team, their own employees, their own subcontractors, or even working with clients who are neurodiverse, or vendors who are neurodiverse, or collaborators who are neurodiverse, what would you say are like 3 simple tips right off the top? I know I'm throwing this at you, I'm so sorry. That folks can go, "Oh, that's such a better way to work with folks."
Okay, so at an evolutionary level, our brains are hardwired for the negative.
Mm-hmm. Keeps us safe.
So yeah, it keeps us safe in a
Or
world
attempts
that we
to
don't
anyway.
really live in anymore. Um, so kind of reprogramming that. If you can shift from a place of automatic negative perception to a place of like curiosity
Mhm.
and kindness or gentleness, that goes a really long way when you're dealing with the neurodiverse folks. Because for most of us, the default we receive from people is negative. Whether it's microaggressions, whether it's bullying, whether it's negative feedback, the default we receive is negative, and we anticipate receiving negative. So if you can shift your thinking into curiosity, generosity, the benefit of the doubt, that alone is already a huge step forward. Respecting people's boundaries. Being really clear about your boundaries, and communicating those in the way that works for the other person. So if your client, your employee, your colleague, if they've told you, hey, like when you rattle off a whole list for me, I only remember the first 2 items, everything after that doesn't stick, put it on paper, put it in an email. When they're struggling with something, instead of throwing it back at them, engage them in the process to find a solution and come at it with curiosity instead of judgment. Is that 3? Because I could keep going.
I love it. Let's do one more.
Learn the language and change your language. So when you speak inclusively. When you speak, use their preferred language. So if somebody wants to be referred to as being autistic, that's okay. But if they don't like that, that's not language you're supposed to be we shouldn't be putting language and identifiers on people. And that also goes for how you talk about people when they're not around. And for some of us who are like really tuned into like all the micro stuff, that has such a big impact. How you show up has a huge impact on what you're going to get out of people. So,
you know what? And I want to add 2 onto those. So another one, and we hear this all the time, that often, again, I know it from the autistic perspective. I'm curious from the ADHD, but we talk about how autistic folks are the canary in the coal, right? So we are the depth of our sensitivity to things and the pattern recognition and the way our brains put things together so fast, we can often see disaster before it happens. And I will tell you that I wish more people because it's gotten to a point where I just won't say things anymore, but I can see it coming a mile away. Often you'll notice because I'm kind of pulling back from certain things. I'm like, oh, I can see it. So I would say, believe autistic people when they are red flagging something. Don't look at that as a negative or a threat or someone just wanting to be egotistical or right. Understand, canary in the coal mine. They are picking up on something just because of how their brain works and the way they're putting things together. Listen. And then the other thing I would say is, to me, look at autistic people and ADHDers with delight. Look at us with delight, right? There is, like you said, we are so used to the negative, and it is like, I want someone to see me. Okay, so like I love talking about the Blue Jays. Well, whatever I'm obsessed with in the moment, right? The Blue Jays, and I'll go and go and go. And I have one person, if I talk to them about it, they're completely tuned out. They're not listening. They're waiting for me to finish talking so they can change the subject. I have another friend the other day who just let me go and go and go. And I could see his face was so lit up as I was talking. It's like, thank you so much for letting me just like info dump on you. And he's like, it makes me so happy to see you so happy. And that's the like that like delight in, hang on, my alarm's going off. Hang on 1 second. The delight in the info dump, the special interest, the idiosyncrasies, like idiosyncrasies. I always added an extra syllable to that word. You know, the like the way that our brains work and the way that we show up. Look at that with delight. And honestly, for everyone on here, if that's you, look at yourself with delight. You know what I mean? So I want to read some more of the comments here. And then Allana, we're going to come back. So do you want me to wait? Okay, go ahead. You go first and I'll read comments.
I was going to say, everything you said about the autistic experience of like the pattern recognition and the like problems, like, 10 months out, 2025 has been a hard year. It's hard to see the patterns. I have never kept track. I am so curious how many hundreds of thousands of dollars in different jobs and like over my career. I don't know, is it a million? I have no idea. I don't keep track. I don't have a mechanism to keep track, but I'm so curious about how much money my employers would have saved over different jobs throughout my career if they had just believed me, because every time it came to pass, every single time. And I mean, that alone is a huge contributor for people leaving. You get disengaged. They don't believe me. They don't listen to me. Why do I keep trying?
Well, that's what ends up happening. And I think that also, sorry, Len, I totally cut you off.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I
I
was
think that,
pausing.
I know, and I'm jumping in. I'm so sorry. Do you have more to say before I jump in?
Are you sure you're not ADHD too? Because that jumping in
No,
impulsivity piece.
that's just excitement. Okay, so I'm gonna jump in. Okay, so
Yeah.
oh shoot, is it gone now? One of the memories that you just had me remember is I used to work for a company. I haven't had very many like traditional jobs in my lifetime because truly I can't keep them. I just can't keep them. And so I was working at a place, and it started off really well, but then there were some new hires, and they were meant to be managers, and they were incredibly toxic, and they were just dicks. And I had flagged that a couple of times. And again, undiagnosed, not understanding myself getting pushed, microaggression, bullied, whatever, pushed to the brink of me having a meltdown. And so I went on stress leave, and then I ended up getting let go from that job. And I said, like, you have a real problem with this person. Like, this person is turning your really awesome company into a bunch of bad apples. Like, I would say the one bad apple for blood. You know that saying? Yeah.
No, you're
Okay.
just cutting out a little bit.
Oh shoot, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. And so anyways, this person I could see was poisoning the staff. You could see it happening, and I brought it up, and unfortunately they were kept and I was let go. And I also am aware a lot of that is because typically we don't deliver that information as diplomatically as we could, right? That's that challenge in learning how to speak that language. And it was maybe 8 months later, and I'd gone for lunch with my previous boss, and she's like, "I want you to know you were totally right. I should have kept you. I should have let her go immediately." So many people quit. Like, she made it so hostile. And it's like, but it took her months to see what I was seeing after just a couple, maybe a month or two as a manager. Anyways, it's a long story to say, like, we see it, but oftentimes by calling it out or bringing attention to it, it is the don't shoot the messenger. Well, that messenger gets shot, right? And so you learn to keep your mouth shut and try to play along. And I think that's what I was gonna say. I think that's why entrepreneurship is such a natural place for autistic and ADHD folks to go into, because we don't have to do that anymore. Well, to a certain extent, but not to the same level, right? More selective. Our professional life. Do the things that feel right for us, right?
Yeah. When I get into entrepreneurship spaces, I don't have any scientific research to back it up, but the rooms that I'm in and the rooms that I'm attracted to being in are full of neurodiverse people, whether they know it or not yet.
Yeah.
And the ones who do, often when we're actually talking about why they started their business, some of them it's out of curiosity. I had a great idea that I wanted to run with, but a lot of people are doing the work they used to do on their own terms. And entrepreneurship for neurodiverse folks, entrepreneurship often is one of the few pathways that is truly available now, as the workforce currently exists, that lets us meet our own needs. That isn't to say that entrepreneurship doesn't also confront and challenge us in ways that we really struggle with, and that thriving as an entrepreneur who is also neurodiverse doesn't come with its own very unique challenges.
And I want to dive into that right now. Friends, tell me in the comments sort of some of the things that you are connecting to where entrepreneurship is supporting you, but also where it's maybe taking away from you, right? Where it's a struggle. Allana, what do you think that, I guess I would say some of the common walls that entrepreneurs hit, we tend to run full steam ahead into, and we don't even see them coming with when there's neurodiversity at play?
Depending on your neurodiversity, because
Yeah.
of course it is very individual.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to paint entrepreneurship with a single brush. Um, but when I'm talking to people, I'm often hearing like very similar things. So the minutia of my business, keeping up with my emails and keeping up with the paperwork of it, and keeping up with the repetitive tasks of my business is soul sucking. But it's necessary in order to keep it running. And if I don't do it, then there's really significant consequences to it. And so the tension of that. Other people that I end up talking to, I have a great idea, I have a great concept, I've got the whole system built out, I've got all the material, the whole product is built out. Now I have to go sell it, and that means talking to people and selling myself, and it just feels icky. That's a really common one. For lots of people, it depends on the work that they're doing. Sometimes it's the peopling of their work. If I could just stay in my office and be the brains behind it and have a whole team that did all the outside, that'd be great. And it depends on your work product. Some people that I end up talking to, they really struggle with shutting it off, shutting the business off so that they can actually rest and recharge. But I would say the most common that I hear over and over and over again is the minutia of it, the paperwork of it, the repetitive tasks of it, and the selling themselves or selling their product.
I'm the worst at responding to emails. The absolute worst. I take forever to get back. If I even do, if it's something that's non-urgent, I often won't. Terrible. But a lot of that, I know for me, is rooted in the emotional labor required to mask on my emails. If I could just send you a quick voice note back or a quick one-word response, but of course, hello, how are you? How was your weekend? Here is my fluffy duffy response. Here is my wrap up, and goodbye. And so, again, when that is not a language that is natural, the amount of emotional and mental labor required to just answer a simple email. And it's funny because I will sit down and go, okay, I have 1 hour. I'm going to get to all these emails, and I'll be lucky if I get to 3. Like, it's just because I have to make decisions and I have to figure things out. And I have to word this just I am the worst at answering email. So by the way, if you send me an email and you don't hear back, if it's urgent, stop. If it's urgent, I'll. Like Allana, last night you sent me an email right away. I got your response back. Whereas there's one sitting in my inbox with something I can't fix regarding the membership. I can't fix it. I have to look into it. I have to figure it out. It's been sitting there for 2 weeks. I'll get there. I'll get back to you eventually. But that is right. There are these things that if we ask ourselves why, and just to give you all some insight, as I was thinking about responding to emails, as I was listening to you, Allana, I literally felt this flaming nausea in my stomach creep up. It does cause anxiety, right? So if you all could connect to that, we just we can hear all the typing that you're doing. We can hear all that clickety clackety.
Well, I could just tell you what I'm sending you in the message.
Okay, you can, but I just want to let you know that we can hear the clickety clackety. But some people don't realize that we can hear it all. Anyways, friends, what I want you to do is I want you to think about what are those sticking points for you in the business is what I'm saying. What are those sticking points, right? What are those things that trip you up? Don't just stop there. Go, okay, what is it? Why is it? And is there room for me to do a little internal work so that I can make this work for me? And if it's maybe a rejection sensitivity, a pathological demand avoidance, if it's a decision fatigue and empathy fatigue, right? Sorry. Is there something here that I can work on? And so that this doesn't become a wall that I just hit and then stop. Can I work on it and set myself up for success here? I'm going to go read our private chat. What is our voice?
That's something I talk with my clients about all the time. So often, in my experience, we need permission to shift from I'm stuck in problem mode to let's find a solution, which is so interesting because so many of my neurodiverse friends that I talk to are constantly in problem solving mode for everybody else.
Yeah.
But internally, some of us aren't as good at problem solving for ourselves. And so, but it is, in my experience, a bit like a switch. Kind of once you flip it, it's a lot easier
Yeah.
to see, to get out of problem mode and start to think about those things from a space of curiosity and like, this is an obstacle for me. How can I move through this so that I'm not getting stuck in it anymore? Because being stuck, my business can't handle me being stuck there. So how do I move through? How do I support myself? How do I accommodate this thing that I'm struggling with?
Everyone, I'd love for you to write down for yourselves, or you can share in the chat as well. I know our chat's quiet today. You can write it down for yourself, share it in the chat. What is something that's coming to mind as we're sharing this, where you would like to develop a switch that you can flip? You could develop a strategy, a system, a support in some way. Allana, what is something that you have flip that switch for yourself in? Something specific where you're like, this has been night and day for me.
Okay. I used to be a really angry person. At baseline, I was angry, and it just got worse all day long. And I didn't know why. I just assumed that was my personality. And not that long ago, I discovered a diagnosis I got when I was a kid, like a school study, learning study. So I deal with sensory processing issues. I had no idea. I am a chef by trade. That is all sensory all the time. It's loud, chaotic noise. It's bright lights. It's hot. It's sweaty. Your hands are always wet or damp or sticky or in something it is all your senses on high alert the whole time. And I love that work, but I can't do that work.
Yeah.
And when I learned that about myself, I started paying attention. And so I found a product that helps suppress sound, but lets me still hear the world around me. I can turn the volume down on the world. And it didn't change who I am overnight, but I'm not an angry person like I used to be. And now when I feel my body starting to amp up, I pop them in and I can access spaces that used to make me angry, like vibrating, viscerally angry. And now I recognize that's part of my neurodiversity, not my personality.
Yes.
And I can support it.
And that's such an interesting distinction too. It's my neurodiversity, not my personality. I can like that. Damn, I want to put that on a shirt because I can be the same, right? Like, and by the way, I just shared Happy Ears. That's what I use. I don't have any here right now, but that's what I use for the earplugs. But it was I didn't understand why I would like lose it at a crying baby, or do you know what I mean? Like be at a concert and completely shutting down, even though I wanted to be here and I loved them. Even at my gym, and it's interesting because we talked about, hang on, it was so long ago, I don't remember now. It was in the process of this. Oh, you talked about not being able to turn off work. And with me having the gym, I never talk about work in the gym. It's never comes up ever. Like my space to go and be a person besides entrepreneur, right? But sometimes I have to wear my earplugs because the noise is so much, and my brain is just already so noisy. Same with stimming. Like I'll go to the bathroom. Also, I will kind of stim there. I let them show a little bit more lately, but I'll go to the bathroom just to shake it out because I'm like I'm drowning, but I want to be here. So
I'm not dressed for the gym until I have my loops on a string around my neck, because I can't handle the clangers. The guys who just drop their weight.
This is why I stopped going to commercial gyms. Like the one I go to is like a private gym. It's anyways, it's sport specific. I can't take the grunting and yelling and slamming of the weights and the bright lights and the music that's never quite in. It's a little staticky, and I was like, this is hell. I can't do this anymore. And so yes.
And now, at this stage of my life, like my window of tolerance for that kind of stuff a decade ago, I had so much bandwidth.
Right.
I had so much bandwidth. Now I got like this much bandwidth a day for all of it. And so a lot of it is meeting my needs, but a lot of it is also protecting
Yeah.
my capacity, because there are other people and things that actually need me to show up, that matter. And that stuff shouldn't matter, but my nervous system is like, 5 alarm fire, oh my gosh. And so learning to hold space for both of those things.
Well, and we had talked about that. That was originally why we were going to, like, why I reached out to you to do this conversation. But then I thought it's a little too niche, a little too. But we talked about this idea of perimenopause and this intersection of ADHD, neurodiversity, perimenopause, and entrepreneurship, right? Because this is what I said before we went live. I don't know if it's perimenopause or it's just the result of. There's some interesting studies out there that show how when we start unmasking, it is really hard to get that mask back on. And also, as we age, perimenopause or not, I believe for anybody, as we age, our capacity to mask and lock that stuff down is just not there. It's like it's depleted. And so there's all these components coming on, but let's take a moment, because I know we've got about maybe 10 minutes or left, and I'm going to start wrapping us up. But let's talk about this idea of perimenopause. Anyone here in the chat experiencing perimenopause, has gone through it? Let's talk about this idea of perimenopause, neurodiversity.
So can I swear on here?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a hormone that we have that starts to disappear as we enter our 30s, and it's our give a fuck hormone.
Yeah, estrogen.
No, it's another one.
Oh, wait, I thought it was estrogen is the one that drops, that makes
that
us
too.
Give a fuck.
That too, but there's one that just kind of stops happening, DHEA.
Okay.
That is really our give a fuck hormone. And so estrogen is also part of the give a fuck system. But DHEA, when that one like disappears, or almost completely disappears, that's really the big give a fuck one. But then there's these other pieces. So as our progesterone starts to die, like starts to wane, not just cyclically, like through the month, like in a month, but like over time, as that one starts to go down, that's where the like anxiety and the speed, like you might feel racing happening, and just not able to calm yourself down. And when you layer that on top of ADHD symptoms or autism symptoms, it can really exacerbate what is already a different neurotype. And then as estrogen goes down, specifically in ADHD, estrogen really supports short-term memory, focus, and emotional regulation. And so, there's this narrative that's happening right now that women, that perimenopause is triggering ADHD. And that's not actually the case necessarily, although we don't really research these things. So who knows? But that's not really what the case is. It's that those hormones were always helping you mask, manage your symptoms, and the absence of them, or the sporadic and inconsistent like production of them, makes masking almost insurmountable. For most of us, it becomes insurmountable. It's just gone.
We hear that so much. We hear from people all the time. The things that I used to do don't work anymore. The strategies, the coping, the things that I set up for myself to get through life are not working. And I'm exhausted. I'm snapping all the time at people, right? Like I physically, I'm sick all the time, like whatever. Like that, I'm foggy. My brain is foggy. I keep forgetting things. I can't focus, right? Like, yeah, all our go-tos stop working. So do you have things that you figured out for yourself to accommodate, to give yourself, what you need?
Yes and no. At this phase of my life, it is a constant work in progress. It's like a whole other job. I cycle track, not precision like down to the day, but I like more globally cycle track, and I front load my cycle. So where estrogen's going to give me more energy, more focus, more emotional regulation, is going to help support my short-term memory, which is trash already. I try to load more work into that space. And then as I get into the second half of my cycle, that's where I try to slow down. That can be challenging. I'm not in control of every single thing that I want to participate in or attend or speak on. But I try to really lighten the load in the second half of my cycle and lean into more softness. So I embrace rest more. I embrace softer thinking. So more gentleness and more kindness on myself. I communicate with the people that it's safe to communicate with where I'm at. Hey, my brain is not firing on all cylinders. In my in my really close community, we do have kind of a bit of language of like it's day blah, and most of us kind of know what that means because we're sort of doing similar work. And so that's been really supportive. It's not perfect. Like this season, this time of year is really busy for my company. I don't really get to slow down just because I'm on, I don't even know what day I'm on today, but because I'm on the back half of my cycle. So, there's part of me that really wishes the workplace as a collective, I don't want to call any single workplace out, but as a collective, it would start to embrace that shift because I can be magic. Day 5 to like day 13 or 14, I can bring magic. But if I'm bogged down with all the really repetitive stuff that isn't magic for me, it's grunt work. That kind of hides the magic. But I can handle some of that stuff better later on. And yeah, space for the gentleness. I can push way harder in the first 2 weeks than I can in the last 2 weeks. And I'm lucky I own my own business. But when I worked for other people, if I worked for somebody else right now, I would need like a 4 or 5 hour day. I just can't push the way I used to. And some of that's the unmasking and the healing, and some of that's the peri, and who knows which bucket it's in which day. But, and I've brought in tools to help me with my brain because my brain doesn't hold all the things anymore. And I'm still bringing in more tools.
Yeah.
So I brought on a fractional VA. It took me a few to find the right one. I think I found the right one. I'm really happy with them. I recognize that is not something that every business can afford. I would argue my business probably can't afford it either. However, things that were falling through the cracks before aren't getting missed anymore because somebody who is much better at the consistency piece and the holding all the pieces is keeping track of that so that I can do the magic. And I mean, that's something I wish more workplaces would embrace too. Is like, if you have a team of people, why is everybody doing the exact same job description, tasks? Why can't we break them out so that we're all doing our own bit of magic? And look, I know every job can't do that. I know every workplace can't do that. But when we can, we really should be delegating and dividing and conquering. Yeah.
I love that. I was watching a clip the other day. I haven't fact checked this, but they said that there's over 150 symptoms a person can experience going through perimenopause. And one of them is smelling smoke. I, for the last 2 years, have been going bonkers because we live in a non-smoking building. That's concrete everywhere. Why am I always smelling smoke? And I'm looking outside for someone that's smoking. Is it coming in the windows? Is there a new tenant and the smoke is coming through and I can't, and I'm smelling myself. I'm like, why do I smell smoke? And I'm like, oh my God, is this one of the symptoms? Because I can smell it all the time. I'm just smelling smoke all the time. It's wild. The other one, I just watched one that talked about, like, we know about things like, well, no, we don't all know. I know about things like frozen shoulder, but how the drop in estrogen causes a lot of joint stiffness and pain. And I have been dealing with my ankles for, like, again, about 2 years now. They're so sore and stiff all the time. And I do so much mobility work and I just can't seem to get them to open. So now I'm about to talk to my doctor to be like, yo, do I need to try like the patch or the cream or something? Because I'm starting to notice there's the main symptoms we all talk about, but then there's these other really weird things we talk about, right? It's and then of course, trying to get a doctor that is educated at all in whatever little education there is around this is next to impossible. But when it comes to, what were we going to say?
No, so something I think a lot of us don't know about our own bodies is that every single kind of tissue in your body, every single organ in your body has estrogen receptors in it. And so a lot of us, I think in our high school biology learning, a lot of us are like, oh, well, if it's in our like reproductive organ tissues, that's it.
Yeah.
Every single organ, every single tissue in our body has estrogen receptors in it. And so, you know, a lot of us think that perimenopause is just hot flashes. It is, it affects every system of your body. And we don't know enough about it. We're learning more all of a sudden, but we don't know enough about it. That's not okay. But a weird constellation of symptoms that creeps up in your 30s or early 40s is worth investigating for something else, but it's almost always perimenopause.
Wild. Well, and Jessica just said, so they went through chemo, which brought on early menopause, right? That's something we hear. And it's weird being on the other side. Yeah, find yourself freer than you've ever been. I love it. You know, I feel like, yeah, once you kind of get over, of course, it does keep going. Even once you're in menopause, it still keeps going for quite a while. But like symptoms, but you know, it is this awareness of the medical gaslighting, right? And the reduction in, so that can make you feel a whole bunch of feels, and then the reduction in capacity, energy, mental, you know, like sharpness. I don't know. Like there's all these things, right? Like I've been noticing, I said this to Allana earlier, I was at a really fun networking event on Tuesday. And on Wednesday had one meeting. I went to the gym and I crashed for the rest of the day. And I noticed a significant decrease in my capacity. Like after a big networking event and lots of conversations, I need a full day to just recover. I have nothing. I sit on my computer and there's nothing up here, right? And not that that is like a bad thing. And I think that's the thing that I really want to like hammer home. All these things we're talking about, they don't necessarily have to be bad. It's just the awareness that that's what's going on, and how are we setting ourselves up for the support, the tools, the resources, the community that we need, right? To be able to thrive within that. I think this we have this weird idea that like someone out there somewhere is the model of perfection. Their neurotype is perfection, their energy is perfection, their body is perfection, their business is perfection, their life is perfection, and all of us are striving for some random perfect model somewhere, like a model of a person that simply doesn't exist. Every single person on this planet is got something that is impacting them in a way, right? And I think we need to really like let go of this pursuit of being problem free and instead look at, okay, this is what's going on for me. How can I support myself, not judge it and wish it was different and fight against it? Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely. I'm sitting here listening and thinking, I don't know how many people here remember the sensations and like the pressure in your body in your late teens and early 20s of performing for the outside world. Is what I'm wearing cute? Is my makeup done right? Am I the pressure to preen? And it's like an internal pressure. And so, I mean, we have social, you know, we have external pressures that pile onto it, but that internal pressure, yeah, that's estrogen. That's literally, and as you think through like the existence of us and what the purpose for that might be, right? Of course, that pressure comes from the desire to procreate. And so as you go through this shift where that is no longer your body's sole purpose for existing anymore, that pressure goes away. And some of us learn to unpack the social pressure that we also took on.
Yeah.
But that's a big part of the like really getting into yourself is shifting the focus from the external, literally for the purposes of reproducing. It's your body recalibrating. So I think there's this wonderful opportunity to like in that recalibration to consider what really does matter to you. And it's this beautiful window of time where we can choose to slow down enough to get really aligned and really clear and really focused on what matters to us, what matters to our community, and what we want to do with our time and our capacity moving forward. And I think that's not something we really get. We don't get that like it's your body's screaming at you to listen to it. All those symptoms are screams to listen, calls to listen. And so yeah, this beautiful opportunity to really get clear and get aligned.
Well, and as you say, when the don't give a fuck hormones start to drop, right? Or give a, what is Louise Neal? She talks a lot about perimenopause. Do you know Louise?
I believe so.
Yeah, she talks a lot about perimenopause stuff as well. So well, she's shifted from sort of career coach into now perimenopause in the workplace, right?
Yeah.
And she talks about the no fuck 50s that she's in right now.
Yeah.
We love to see it. Friends, I just shared a book called More Than a Body. Your body is an instrument, not an ornament. I think it goes very, very much in alignment with what Allana was just talking about.
Yeah.
The book is really cool. It talks about how when we become aware that we are being observed and how we start self-objectifying and are objectified. It's a great book. Definitely pick it up. We're gonna wrap us up here as we get to hit our 1 hour mark. Friends, I'm going to share some links. If you want to connect with Allana, this is her website. Go and check that out. Here is her Instagram. We got some LinkedIn action here.
Yeah.
Check that out. If people were to reach out to you, Allana, what would you want to talk about with them? What are you nerding out to these days?
I mean, I'm kind of nerding out about the whole perimenopause thing these days. I'm actually doing we're just rolling it out right now. We're doing a webinar next month about it. So much deeper dive into the intersections of ADHD and perimenopause and the hormones that go around those two conditions or states of being that have an impact. I'm like, so it's all I want to talk about. All I want to talk about is nervous systems and brains and hormones through the lens of neurodiversity. And I'm kind of bored by everything else.
I was watching another clip the other day and it talked about, oh God, I actually feel genuinely bad when I heard this. And here's the thing, I've heard it a million times, but however this person said it, it finally landed. And that is that trying to make a neurodiverse person talk about something or give a crap about something they're not interested in is impossible. It was a man talking about his son and observing him as an autistic kid. It's impossible. He will not engage, right? And I'm like, I remember, you guys, you want to hear something, so I feel so bad to this day. This was like during the pandemic, but things were kind of opening up and we were online dating, and there was this person I was talking to. We were talking about where we should go, and I really wanted to go axe throwing. I love physical activity. I love physical activity on a date. So let's go axe throwing. And they didn't get back to me. I didn't realize that they hadn't gotten back to me. And so I was like, crap, by the time we settled the date, there was no spot. And so she had suggested we go to the botanical gardens. And I was like, well, that sounds really boring. It came out of my mouth so fast. Again, undiagnosed, forget it, and I was like, well, that's about that. Anyways, we didn't go on a date. She was like, yeah, I'm actually pretty busy. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. That was a shitty thing to say. But I was like, that sounds so boring. I cannot go on that date. And I could have said that a little nicer. But I'm
shocked you had the outcome it did. Just shocked.
Oh, I'm okay. Yeah, no, that's about right. I because it's not that it's like one of those things where I didn't mean it to be, it just came out of my mouth so fast because it was like, that sounds horrible. And I just, the mask dropped a little bit, and I was like, whoop, put that mask back up. Oh, oh, don't make me walk around and look at flowers. Listen, if you love flowers, go look at flowers. I do not care. It's hard. If I don't care about something, it is impossible to get me to care about something. Anyone else? Listen, it was wrong. What I did was not good. I'm not saying it was a good thing. I'm laughing about it out of embarrassment. It was not a good thing. Don't do it. Anyone else ever done that before?
All the time. All the time. Not quite that, but yeah, I've even had situations where like
I know. I'm like,
get back in.
What are you doing right
now? All those movies where, they've got the 7-second rewind or the 10, I don't like I get the consequence of it. I understand why we can't time travel, all that, but there's so many instances in my life where I'm like, ooh, I could really use that 10 seconds to
I
review.
really
I
wish
really
I
need
had
a rewind.
impulse control. And yep, yeah, I know. All right, friends, if you haven't yet got your ticket for our email funnel accelerator, that is starting next Friday. We will be building out your email funnel. So your lead magnets, your landing pages, your email sequences, your marketing strategy to fill your email funnel. So click, or you can scan the QR code there. I'll throw it in the chat as well. Come and join us. It's our second time running it. And it is wicked. So much fun. We had such a good time last time. So check that out. If you are not yet a part of the sales community, come and join that. Let me throw that QR code up for you as well. I did also throw that. Join us. Oh, look at that. 2 QR codes at once. You can join us for that. I also put the link for our next shop talk inside the chat. So I don't have a theme decided yet, but I've got a couple I'm playing with. So I'll probably finalize that today and get that up there. But it is there. Allana, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Of course.
Anything that you want to add on before we go?
I think the biggest thing that I want people to know is that if this window, this phase of your life is challenging, if it's not, like if it's hard, it doesn't have to be hard alone. Every single person who is cycling will go through this in their life if they're blessed to live long enough to get here to this age. So if something is hard, if something's not working, if something doesn't feel right, it is worth the investigation. Your doctor probably won't have the answer because they don't learn enough about this in medical school. But there are resources. We have the whole of the internet at our fingertips. There are really good menopause organizations that have resources to connect you to people who know what they're talking about. You are worth the investigation. You are worth finding the resources and talking to the people, whether it's your neurodiversity or whether it's the changes that are happening in your body and how they're impacting your life. You are worth the investigation to find tools and resources and systems and solutions to support you.
Yeah. That's a big one. You were worth it. You were worth it.
Yeah.
All right. This has been amazing. Friends, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you so much for your time, your expertise, your wisdom. This, of course, is going to exist on YouTube. I will go back and put the links inside the description area so you can access all the links. As I said, this will also be in the ICFree sales community. Allana is also in the ICFree sales community. So if you haven't joined us yet, it's $9 a month. Come on in there. It's a lot of fun. And we will see you either next Friday for Email Funnel Accelerator, or we will see you next month for our next shop talk.